You've probably heard of this book. Since it first came out in 1997, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad has become an absolute legend. We're talking over 32 million copies sold worldwide, and there's a reason for that. It completely flips how you think about money on its head. So today, we're gonna break down the 5 core lessons from this book that may just change how you look at your paycheck forever. The book kicks off with a massive question, one that I'm sure a lot of us ask ourselves. Why does it seem like the rich just keep getting richer, while so many other people are just struggling to get by? Well, according to Kiyosaki, the answer has almost nothing to do with your salary. It's all about your financial education and, more importantly, your mindset. So, the whole concept of the book is built around these 2 central figures in Kiyosaki's life, 2 dads. And these 2 guys had completely polar opposite views on everything to do with money, work, and building wealth. And that contrast really sets the stage for everything we're about to learn. Okay, so on one side you have his poor dad. This was his actual biological father, a very highly educated man, a professor who believed in the traditional path, get good grades, find a safe, secure job, and climb that corporate ladder. Then you have his rich dad, who was his best friend's father. This guy was an 8th grade dropout who became a self-made millionaire. Their philosophies were like night and day. One is all about job security, the other is all about financial freedom. And that huge difference in thinking leads us straight into the first big lesson of the book, learning to see the invisible trap that keeps most people stuck financially. Kiyosaki gave it a name that you've probably heard before. He calls it the rat race. This cycle right here probably looks pretty familiar, doesn't it? You get a job to earn a salary. Then, when you get a raise or a better job, what happens? Your expenses go up too. A nicer car, a bigger house. So now you have to work even harder just to pay for all the new stuff. It's this endless, self-perpetuating loop of working for money just to cover your bills. And that's the core of the problem. It's like you're a hamster on a wheel. You're running faster and faster, but you're not actually getting anywhere. You're just chasing a paycheck that you'd basically already spent before you even get it. You're trapped by loans, by the things you own, and you never really build any lasting wealth. So, if the rat race is the problem, how in the world do you escape it? Well, that brings us to the next lesson, and this is probably the single most important concept in the entire book. It's all about understanding the simple difference between 2 words, assets and liabilities. What I love is how simple Kiyosaki makes this. Forget all that complex financial jargon. An asset is anything that puts money into your pocket. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. That's it. The rich focus their lives on acquiring assets. The middle class and poor, they often acquire liabilities that they think are assets. Let's look at some real examples. An asset could be a rental property that pays you every month, or stocks that give you dividends. A liability, on the other hand, is a big house with a huge mortgage, or that brand new car with a monthly loan payment. One literally has money working for you, the other has you working for your things. And this is exactly why Rich Dad was so obsessed with financial literacy. Think about it. The school system is designed to create good employees, right? People who know how to work for money. It very rarely teaches you how to make money work for you. That's a skill you have to go out and learn on your own. This leads us right into the 4th lesson, and this one is a really powerful shift in perspective. It's about understanding the huge difference between your job and your business. Okay, so your profession, that's what you do from 9 to 5 to earn a paycheck. You're a teacher, a banker, whatever. But your business, that's what you own. It's that column of assets that's generating income for you, whether you're physically there or not. Rich Dad's advice was simple. Focus on building that asset column. Mind your own business. To really hammer this point home, Kiyosaki tells this great story about Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's. Kroc was talking to some university students one time, and he asked them a simple question. What business am I in? What do you think their answer was? Of course, they all shouted, hamburgers, but Kroc just laughed and told them this. He said his business wasn't selling hamburgers, it was real estate. See, McDonald's is one of the biggest real estate owners in the world because it owns the incredibly valuable land under almost all its franchises. The burgers just pay the mortgage on the land. That is the definition of minding your own business. Now, this doesn't mean you have to go out and quit your job tomorrow, not at all. The real advice here is to keep your day job, that pays the bills, right? But to use your free time to start buying or building assets, start a side business, invest, do something you can grow until it generates enough income to set you free. And finally, that brings us to the fifth and maybe the most powerful lesson of all. Because before you can change your financial situation, you have to change what's going on in your head. It all comes down to the language you use with yourself. This was the phrase poor dad use all the time. When you say I can't afford it, it's a statement. It's a dead end. It basically tells your brain to just stop thinking, to give up. The conversation is over. But Rich Dad taught Kiyosaki to ask a totally different question. Instead of saying, I can't, he would ask, how can I? That simple question forces your brain to engage. It makes you search for solutions, look for opportunities, and get creative. And that's the core of the whole mindset shift. One phrase is a brick wall, the other is an open door. Asking how trains your mind to become a problem solver, and that, right there, is the foundation of a wealthy mindset. So let's do a quick recap of the 5 big lessons here. First, the rich don't work for money, they make money work for them. Second, know the difference between assets and liabilities, and spend your life buying assets. Third, never stop learning about money, increase your financial literacy. Fourth, mind your own business, your asset column. And finally, change your mindset. Stop saying I can't and start asking how can I? So that brings us to the end. The lessons from this book are really simple, but they are incredibly profound. And actually applying them can completely change your financial future. So the final question I want to leave you with is this. After hearing all this, what is the first asset you are going to focus on building for yourself?